There are some people who have committed horrific and evil crimes who have been caught and are serving a sentence in prison. Although a very few of these terrible convicts get released from prison, there are still some of the odd expectations where the law is justified and some of these terrible people get released back into society. So let's take a look at the top 10 convicts who should never get released. Starting us off at a number 10 with Lisa M. Montgomery. Unlike the others on this list, she has only committed one murder, but it was horrendous and brutal, so she deserves to be on this list. Lisa went onto the internet chat room posing as a pregnant woman, and she arranged a meeting with the pregnant woman under false pretenses. When the two of them met in person, Lisa strangled the pregnant woman with a neon rope and then cut her unborn baby out of the womb and then kidnapped her. She is currently incarcerated and is waiting on death row. This is one person that doesn't deserve to be back in society. Stabbing our way into number 9, we have Dennis Rader, better known as the BTK Killer. He has murdered 10 people in Kansas over a span of almost 20 years, and this is starting back in 1974. BTK stands for Blind, Torture, and Kill. This was his infamous signature because he sent letters to the police and the local news that described the details of each murder. He is currently serving 10 consecutive life sentences at El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas. And now at number 8 is Dennis Nilsen. He was a serial killer and a necrophilia who murdered at least 12 young men in a series of killings between 1978 and 1983 in London, England. He cut up the bodies of the victim and disposed of them by flushing each piece down the toilet, and then he burnt the rest. Thankfully, he was arrested and he is currently serving a life sentence in HMP Full Sutton Maximum Security Prison, and that's located in England. Bobby Joe Long makes it into this list at number 7. He abducted, sexually assaulted, and murdered at least 10 women in Florida during an 8-month period back in 1984. The bodies of the victim were often found bent into strange positions and tied up with ropes and bindings. He actually released his last victim after raping and mutilating her for 26 hours. This woman was able to provide information to the police, who were then able to track him down and arrest him. He is currently on death row at the Union Correctional Institution, and apparently he has one 5-year sentence, 4 99-year sentences, 28 life sentences, and 1 death sentence. Let's just put him on the death sentence and forget about everything else. Moving into number 6 with Charles. He is a former US Marine who kidnapped, raped, and murdered between 11 and 25 people at a remote cabin in the woods. This is like a movie or something. He was actually dishonorably discharged for desertion and the theft of weapons and explosives after his arrest. Charles and his friend built a dungeon in the cabin and went on a spree of rape, torture, murder for a solid year until the police discovered the remains of human bones, and these bones, they try to burn it at the cabin. He is currently on death row at San Quentin State Prison. Randy Stephen Kraft comes into this list at number 5. Between the years of 1972 and 1983, Randy raped, tortured, and murdered at least 16 young men between the ages of 13 to 35 years old in California. It is also believed that he committed at least 51 other rapes and murders, but he has never publicly admitted to them. Randy would lure young men to his van and drug them before he raped them, and then he tortured them by burning and removing their genitals, and then he would murder them. He is currently incarcerated on death row at San Quentin State Prison. So this guy and the last guy are probably buddies. They have a lot in common. Charles Manson comes into this list at number 4. He is the leader of the infamous and notorious cult of killers called the Manson family. He is still alive and currently in prison at the Corcoran State Prison in California, serving multiple life sentences. In 1971, he was found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people. He has a history of manipulation, controlling behaviors, and mental illnesses such as schizophrenia and paranoid delusional behavior. He was originally given the death penalty, but his sentence was reduced when California abolished the death penalty. Next, at number 3 is Gary Ridgway. He is known as the Green River Killer, and he murdered numerous women and little girls in Washington State. During the 1980s and the 1990s, he was initially convicted of 48 separate murders, but it is presumed that he is actually responsible for more than 90 murders. He would lure prostitutes away from the public, strangle them, and then rape them. He would dump their bodies in forested areas. He was caught in 2001 after nearly 20 years of murdering people. As part of a plea bargain, he agreed to disclose the location of missing women so that he would be spared the death penalty. He was later sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Well, you know what? Thank God for that. Number 2 brings us to Rodney Alcala, who is a convicted rapist and serial killer who was sentenced to death in California back in 2010, and it was for 5 murders. His true victim count remains unknown, so it could be much more than that, but it is suspected to be in the hundreds. He was very sadistic when he tortured his victims. He would strangle them until they lost consciousness unconsciousness, and then he waited until they woke up only to strangle them again numerous times. He is sometimes referred to as the dating game killer because he actually appeared on the TV show The Dating Game and he won, and this took place during his murder spree. I mean, that is just insane. He is still alive in San Quentin in spite of receiving 3 separate death sentences. Finally, at the number 1 spot, we have Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He is sentenced to death for planting bombs at the Boston Marathon back in 2013. The bombings killed 3 people and injured approximately 280 others. He later said during questioning that him and his brother also intended to detonate explosives in Times Square in New York City. He also told the FBI that he did it because he was angry about the US wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and the killing of Muslims there. Thankfully, he was arrested and sentenced to death because he clearly has no problems with using weapons of mass destruction. Well, there you guys have it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys very soon.